Hello, this is Connie Belden. We learned about using a plant-wide overhead rate, using just one activity to apply all overhead. And then we also learned about applying overheads on department using a different predetermined overhead rate for each department. Now we're going to compare the two and talk about why we might want to use departmentalized way of applying overhead as opposed to plant-wide. Smith Company has two departments, assembly and fabrication. All manufacturing overhead costs are fixed, and the estimated data are as follows. So remember that right here is your estimated data, and that estimated data includes manufacturing overhead costs, direct labor hours, and machine hours. Okay, data completed for job 30, this would be our actual information. Our direct labor hours for assembly, our machine hours for assembly, our direct labor hours for fabrication, and our machine hours for fabrication. Now keep in mind that we may not need all of these numbers. So we're first of all going to use a plant-wide predetermined overhead rate based on using just direct labor hours. How much manufacturing overhead cost would be applied to job 30? Well, we have to go through our two steps. Step 1, calculating the predetermined overhead rate. That takes the estimated overhead and the estimated overhead, if you look up above, when it's added together for assembly and fabrication together, is $140,000. Okay, so I will use the estimated overhead of $140,000, and I want to divide it by my estimated activity. Now here it says use direct labor hours. If I look up here at my chart, my estimated direct labor hours total 80,000. So I'll say 80,000 estimated direct labor hours. Okay, divide that out and you come up with $1.75 is my predetermined overhead rate per direct labor hour. Okay, step 2, when I apply it, I want to take that predetermined overhead rate of $1.75 and I want to take it, remember it's based on direct labor hours, so I want to take it times my total actual direct labor hours. And again, this would be for assembly and fabrication together. So notice here in the total, it's 20 total direct labor hours. Okay, multiply that out, and $35 is my overhead applied. Okay, so that is for my plant-wide. In part 2, we're going to do it based on department. We're going to use direct labor hours for assembly and machine hours for fabrication. So let me go back up to my original data. Okay, so again, we're going to use direct labor hours for assembly. So assembly will use the 50,000 direct labor hours. And we are going to use machine hours for fabrication. So as I look at fabrication, I will highlight here, fabrication used 20,000 machine hours. Okay, so keep that in mind as part of our calculation. So I do need to calculate a predetermined overhead rate for assembly and for fabrication. Okay, let's go ahead and start with assembly. Okay, I want to do what I did before. I want to take the estimated overhead and divide it by the estimated direct labor hours, because remember, it's based on direct labor hours. So I go up here for assembly. I'll highlight in red the numbers I'm using. 60,000 is the estimated overhead for assembly, and 50,000 is the estimated direct labor hours. So I will take 60,000 estimated overhead and divide it by 50,000 estimated direct labor hours. And again, I looked at just the assembly numbers and I come up with $1.20 as my predetermined overhead rate. I will say per direct labor hour, predetermined overhead rate. Now, remember fabrication, it says base it on machine hours. Okay, fabrication, the estimated overhead for just fabrication, I'll highlight, is 80,000. And for fabrication, the estimated machine hours is 20,000. So I will divide that out. So I will say fabrication. Okay, 80,000 is the estimated manufacturing overhead, and I will divide it by the 20,000 estimated machine hours. Okay, so that gives me $4 per machine hour for my predetermined overhead rate. Okay, so I'll bold both of these. So I have my predetermined overhead rates of $1.20 per direct labor hour for assembly and of $4 for fabrication. So when each department has their own overhead rate, you do have to do step one for each of them. So in this case, I had to do it twice because I had two departments. Now to apply it, I'm going to have to apply it separately. Okay, that will be our next step here. So remember, when I apply it, I take the actual activity and multiply it times the predetermined overhead rate. So I just made a little chart here to do it. So the predetermined overhead rate was already calculated at $1.20 per direct labor hour for assembly, so I'll fill that in, and $4 per machine hour for fabrication. Now what I need to do is go determine the actual direct labor hours for assembly. So I go to the actual data in green, look at assembly. The actual direct labor hours for assembly was 5. So I'll fill that in. Now remember fabrication, I'll put 5 hours. I'll put 5 direct labor hours just to be specific. Now fabrication was based on machine hours. So let me go back up here. Fabrication, actual machine hours was 9. Okay, so I'll go down here. I'll put 9, I'll put MH for machine hours. Okay. Now, they did go ahead and total after we multiplied to the side. Let's go ahead and multiply first. So for assembly, 5 times $1.20, that would be $6 of manufacturing overhead is being applied from assembly. And then 9 machine hours times $4 is $36. Manufacturing overhead is being applied from fabrication. So if I had 6 plus 36, manufacturing overhead applied is $42. Now, let's do a comparison of these two. Now again, remember that $42 was just manufacturing overhead applied. That was for the departmentalized. When I used plant-wide, I got manufacturing overhead applied of $35. So notice there is a difference there of $7. So let's compare plant-wide to departmental. First of all, the material and labor cost is going to be the same. That is not going to change. So assume that it gives here direct material cost is $10 and direct labor cost is $82. So it doesn't matter if it's departmental or plant-wide, it will be 10 and 82. What matters is the amount of overhead that's being applied. And again, I highlighted here, when I did plant-wide, I came up with $35. A manufacturing overhead is being applied, so I will fill that in. When I did it by department, I came up with $42. Again, that's a $7 difference. if I use departmentalized, I came up with a unit cost of $127. For departmental, I'll add 10, 82, and 42, and came up with a total cost per unit of $134. So notice that by doing departmental, we come up with a little bit higher cost of $134. Departmental is considered to be more accurate in estimating the cost as opposed to plant-wide, which obviously is a little bit quicker. Why is this important? The $7 difference? Because it can make a difference in what our profits are. Because we normally use the cost of the product to determine how much we're going to sell it for. So if it actually costs $7 more than what we anticipated, $134 instead of $127, that's going to be digging into our profits. Thank you very much.